Amanda Wilson, 32, stared at her phone in disbelief. After 3 years of silence, her mother's name flashed on the screen. The same mother who hadn't bothered to attend her wedding was now calling because she'd seen Amanda's new Tesla on Facebook. The irony wasn't lost on her. Blood might be thicker than water, but apparently money was thicker than both. What Amanda didn't know was that this call would unravel family secrets that would change everything she thought she knew about loyalty, betrayal, and justice. Hey everyone, before I dive deeper into my story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. This family revenge drama gets pretty intense, so if you're into stories about karma coming full circle, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more real-life drama that'll leave you shocked. Trust me, you'll want to see how this family betrayal unfolds. Amanda had always been the responsible one in her family. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Seattle, she'd watched her parents Richard and Ellen Wilson struggle financially while maintaining appearances for their social circle. From an early age, Amanda understood the value of hard work and independence, traits that her younger brother Tyler never seemed to develop. After graduating with honors from Washington State University, Amanda landed a job at a tech startup that eventually skyrocketed her career. By 28, she was earning 6 figures as a software engineering manager, had purchased her own condo, and had met Jason, a kind and ambitious architect who shared her values and vision for the future. Their relationship blossomed quickly, and within a year, Jason proposed. Amanda was ecstatic and immediately called her parents to share the news. Their reaction was lukewarm at best. "That's nice, honey," her mother had said distractedly. "We'll talk about it more later." That conversation never happened. As wedding preparations began, Amanda noticed a disturbing pattern. Her parents consistently found excuses to avoid meeting Jason's family, declined to participate in any wedding planning, and seemed entirely uninterested in one of the most significant events of their daughter's life. When Amanda confronted them, they dismissed her concerns with vague explanations about being busy with Tyler's issues. Tyler, now 27, had never held a steady job. He drifted from one part-time position to another, frequently asking their parents for money to cover his rent or pay off debts. Despite his irresponsibility, Richard and Ellen always came through for him, often at the expense of their own financial stability. 2 months before the wedding, Amanda made one final attempt to involve her parents. She invited them to dinner at her condo, cooking her mother's favorite meal and creating the perfect atmosphere for reconciliation. That evening, she laid her heart bare. "I don't understand," Amanda said, fighting back tears. "I've always tried to make you proud. I've never asked for handouts. I've built my life through hard work, just like you taught me. Why can't you be happy for me? Why won't you be part of my wedding?" Her father shifted uncomfortably in his seat, while her mother stared at her plate. Finally, Ellen spoke. "Amanda, you've always been so independent. You don't really need us. Tyler is different. He needs our support." Need or takes advantage of Amanda couldn't hold back any longer. "I've watched you drain your savings and retirement accounts to bail him out of one mess after another. I've never judged that choice, but now you can't even show up for my wedding. That's not fair," her father interjected. "Your brother has struggled. You've always had things easy." The words struck Amanda like a physical blow. Easy, the countless late nights studying, the 3 jobs she worked through college to avoid student loans, the years of proving herself in a male-dominated industry, none of that had been easy. "I think you should leave," Amanda said quietly, the finality in her voice surprising even herself. As her parents gathered their things, her mother paused at the door. "You've always been so dramatic, Amanda. When you calm down, you'll realize family comes first." "Yes," Amanda replied, "family should come first. Remember that when you receive your wedding invitation." The invitation was sent, but the RSVP never came. On what should have been one of the happiest days of her life, Amanda walked down the aisle alone. The two empty seats in the front row served as a painful reminder of her parents' absence. Jason squeezed her hand reassuringly when she reached him silently, promising to be the family she deserved. After the wedding, Amanda made a difficult decision. She would no longer chase her parents' approval or affection. She would focus on building her own family with Jason and surround herself with people who genuinely cared for her well-being. The communication with her parents dwindled until it stopped altogether. For 3 years, Amanda heard nothing from them directly. Occasionally, through mutual acquaintances, she would learn snippets of information. Tyler had moved back home, her father had taken a second job, her mother complained about financial difficulties. Amanda felt a mix of sadness and vindication, but remained resolute in her decision to maintain distance. Then came the unexpected promotion at work that changed everything. The executive boardroom fell silent as the CEO finished speaking. Amanda sat frozen, trying to process what she'd just heard. She had been promoted to Chief Technology Officer with a substantial salary increase and stock options that would vest over the next 5 years. At 32, she was now one of the youngest C-level executives in the industry. "Congratulations, Amanda," the CEO said, extending his hand. "Your leadership during the Henderson project saved us millions and secured our relationship with our biggest client. This promotion is well-deserved." That evening, Jason insisted on celebrating. "We need to mark this occasion properly," he declared, pulling up the Tesla website on his laptop. "You've been talking about going electric for years. Now's the perfect time." Amanda hesitated. The practical side of her argued for investing the bonus, but another part, perhaps the part still seeking validation, found herself nodding in agreement. 2 weeks later, she drove home in a sleek midnight blue Tesla Model S, the most expensive purchase she had ever made besides their house. "We should take a photo," Jason suggested as she parked in their driveway. "Show off a little." Under normal circumstances, Amanda wasn't one to flaunt material possessions. But something about this achievement, this tangible symbol of her success despite the lack of family support, made her agree. Jason snapped a picture of her leaning against the car keys in hand with their beautiful craftsman-style home in the background. The caption was simple: "Hard work pays off. New promotion, new ride." Blessed Amanda didn't think much of the post. Her Facebook friends list was relatively small, consisting mainly of close friends and colleagues. She had removed her parents and brother years ago, tired of seeing the carefully curated versions of their lives that bore little resemblance to reality. What Amanda didn't know was that her former college roommate Liz had remained friends with Ellen on Facebook. Liz, who had attended the wedding and witnessed the empty seats, had never quite forgiven Amanda's parents for their absence. When she saw Amanda's post, she immediately shared it to her own page with an additional comment, "So proud of my brilliant friend." From walking herself down the aisle to driving this beauty, proof that success is the best revenge. It took less than 24 hours for the photo to reach Ellen Wilson. By then, it had accumulated dozens of comments, congratulating Amanda, many explicitly mentioning how she had accomplished everything without family support. Ellen's phone call came the following morning. Amanda was in a meeting when her phone buzzed. Glancing down, she saw the name that had once meant everything to her. Her heart raced as conflicting emotions warred within her: hope, anger, curiosity, resentment. Excusing herself, she stepped into an empty conference room and answered. "Amanda." Her mother's voice sounded exactly the same as if 3 years of silence had never happened. "It's Mom." "I know who it is," Amanda replied, her tone neutral. "What can I do for you?" There was a pause, and then Ellen spoke again, her voice taking on the warmth Amanda remembered from childhood. "I saw your picture online." "A Tesla? That's quite an accomplishment, honey. Your father and I are so proud." The words "your father and I are so proud" echoed in Amanda's mind, words she had longed to hear throughout her life, but especially on her wedding day. Now attached to her material success rather than her personal happiness, they felt hollow. "Thank you," Amanda said, simply waiting for the real reason behind the call. "We should get together soon," Ellen continued, her voice overly bright. "Catch up properly. It's been too long." 3 years, 2 months, and 14 days, Amanda replied. "But who's counting? Another pause longer this time?" "Amanda, I know things have been difficult between us, but we're still family." "Family." Amanda repeated the word, testing its weight. "Interesting how that word only seems to matter now that I have something you might want." "That's not fair," Ellen protested, but the defense lacked conviction. "We've been going through some challenging times." "Your father's health hasn't been great, and Tyler, let me guess," Amanda interrupted. "Tyler needs help again." The silence on the other end of the line confirmed her suspicion. Amanda closed her eyes, suddenly tired. "What does he need this time, Mom?" "How much?" "It's not just about money," Ellen insisted, though. Her voice wavered. "Though yes, he is in a bit of a financial bind. He had a business opportunity that didn't quite work out." "A business opportunity?" Amanda echoed. "Like the food truck venture last time, or the cryptocurrency investment before that?" "This was different," Ellen defended. "He really did his research. The timing wasn't right." Amanda leaned against the conference room wall, feeling a strange calm descend over her. For years, she had craved her parents' approval, their presence, their love. She had believed that if she just worked hard enough, achieved enough, proved her worth enough times, they would see her value. Now she realized the fundamental flaw in that thinking. Their inability to value her had nothing to do with her accomplishments and everything to do with their own distorted priorities. "Mom, why did you really call? Was it to reconnect with your daughter? Or was it because you saw a Tesla and thought I might be able to solve Tyler's problems?" "That's not fair," Ellen repeated, but her voice lacked conviction. "We've missed you, Amanda. We want to be part of your life again." "My life," Amanda said quietly. "Not my wedding, not my marriage, not the past 3 years. Just now, when I visibly succeeded." The conversation ended shortly after with vague promises to talk again soon. Amanda returned to her meeting, but her mind was elsewhere. The call had reopened wounds she thought had healed, but it had also crystallized something important. This wasn't just about her parents' favoritism or their conditional love. There was something deeper, something she couldn't quite identify yet. That evening, as she recounted the conversation to Jason, a new resolve formed within her. "I think I need to understand why she told him, not to reconcile necessarily, but for my own peace. There's something not adding up." Jason nodded, supporting as always. "What's your next step?" Amanda stared out the window at the Tesla parked in their driveway, the catalyst for this unexpected reconnection. "I think it's time I paid a visit to my childhood home. Not for a happy reunion, but for answers." What Amanda didn't realize was that her search for answers would uncover family secrets, far more damaging than she could have imagined. Secrets that would explain her parents' behavior, but also force her to reevaluate everything. She thought she knew about her family. The familiar street looked smaller than Amanda remembered. The oak trees that lined the sidewalk had grown fuller, casting deeper shadows across the modest houses. Her parents' 2-story colonial, once the pride of the neighborhood, now showed signs of neglect. The white paint was peeling around the window frames, and the once manicured lawn had patches of dead grass. Amanda parked her Tesla at the curb, aware of the stark contrast between her gleaming vehicle and the aging neighborhood. For a moment, she considered driving away, but the need for closure propelled her forward. She had texted her mother earlier that week, accepting the invitation for dinner with a simple, "I'll be there Saturday at 6. Ellen had responded immediately with enthusiastic emojis that felt foreign coming from her usually reserved mother. Before she could knock, the front door swung open. Her mother stood there looking older than Amanda remembered. The carefully dyed blonde hair and meticulously applied makeup couldn't hide the new lines around her eyes or the tension in her smile. Amanda Ellen exclaimed, reaching for a hug that Amanda reluctantly returned. "You look wonderful. Come in, come in." The house smelled the same, a mixture of her mother's floral perfume and the lemon polish used on the antique furniture. Yet, there were subtle differences. The living room furniture was worn the once plush carpet threadbare in high-traffic areas. Family photos still lined the mantel, but Amanda noticed that the most recent ones featured only Tyler. Her father emerged from the kitchen, a dish towel in his hands. Richard Wilson had always been a robust man, commanding attention when he entered a room. Now he seemed diminished somehow. His shoulders slightly stooped, his handshake less firm. "Good to see you, Amanda," he said, his tone formal, as if addressing a distant acquaintance rather than his daughter. "Is that her?" Tyler's voice called from the dining room. The prodigal daughter returns. Amanda steeled herself before following her parents into the dining room. Tyler sat at the table looking remarkably unchanged. At 30, he still had the boyish charm that had always gotten him out of trouble. His smile was easy, but his eyes held a calculation that Amanda recognized from childhood, the look he got when figuring out how to benefit from a situation. "Hey, sis," he said, raising a glass of wine in her direction. "Nice of you to grace us with your presence. Even nicer car you graced our street with." Tyler Amanda acknowledged with a nod, taking the seat farthest from him. Dinner was a carefully orchestrated performance. Ellen served her special pot roast, Amanda's favorite as a child, while making light conversation about neighbors and distant relatives. Richard occasionally contributed a comment or question, but mostly focused on his food. Tyler dominated the discussion with animated stories about his latest ventures and interests, none of which seemed to involve steady employment. Amanda observed the familiar dynamic with new awareness. Her parents hung on Tyler's every word, laughing at his jokes, expressing sympathy for his setbacks. They treated him as the main character in their family story, while Amanda remained an audience member expected to appreciate the performance but not participate in it. So Tyler said finally, turning his attention to Amanda, "Tell us about this fancy new job. CTO, right? Sounds important." "It is," Amanda replied simply. "I manage our technology strategy and oversee a team of 60 engineers. 60 people, Ellen marveled. That's quite a responsibility. And quite a paycheck, I bet, Tyler added, with a laugh that didn't reach his eyes. That Tesla didn't pay for itself. Amanda met his gaze steadily. No, it didn't. I worked for it. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Ellen quickly filled it with offers of dessert, hurrying to the kitchen to retrieve a store-bought apple pie. As she served the slices, her hands trembled slightly. "Actually," Ellen said, her voice overly bright, "we have some exciting news too. Tyler has a new business opportunity." Really, Amanda couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. "It's a food delivery app," Tyler explained, leaning forward. "But specialized for dietary restrictions, keto, paleo, vegan, all that stuff. The market research shows huge potential." "Sounds interesting," Amanda said neutrally. "Do you have a business plan? Investment partners?" Tyler exchanged a quick glance with their parents. "Well, that's actually something we wanted to discuss with you. The initial investment is substantial, but the return projections are incredible." And there it was, the real reason for the reconciliation attempt. Amanda felt a strange sense of relief. At least now the pretense could end. "How much?" she asked quietly. $75,000, Tyler replied without hesitation. "Just to get things off the ground. Of course, you'd be a partner. We'd split the profits." Amanda looked from Tyler to her parents, who were studiously avoiding her gaze. "And if I said no?" Ellen's head snapped up. Amanda, this isn't about saying yes or no. This is about family supporting each other. We've always supported you. Have you? Amanda interrupted the calm in her voice, belying the turmoil within. When exactly did you support me, Mom? Was it when you missed my college graduation because Tyler had a minor legal issue? Or when you and Dad skipped my wedding because he had a softball tournament? That's not fair, her father interjected, his voice rising. You know we had our reasons. What reasons? Amanda demanded. I've never understood what was so important that you couldn't be there for the biggest day of my life. Ellen and Richard exchanged a look laden with unspoken communication. Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Tell her, Tyler finally said, surprising everyone. She deserves to know. Ellen's face paled. Tyler, we agreed. We agreed when she wasn't speaking to us, Tyler countered. She's here now, and if you want her money, you owe her the truth. Amanda looked between them, confusion mingling with apprehension. What truth? What are you talking about? Richard cleared his throat. It's complicated, Amanda. Try me, she challenged. I manage complex problems every day. Another loaded glance passed between her parents. Finally, Ellen spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. We were going to lose the house, right before your wedding. We had borrowed against it to help with Tyler's legal expenses, and then the interest rates went up, and we couldn't make the payments. Amanda processed this information, so you couldn't come to my wedding because you were dealing with financial issues? That's the big secret. No, Richard said, looking down at his hands. We couldn't come to your wedding because we had borrowed money from Jason's parents, and we couldn't face them. The words hit Amanda like a physical blow. What Ellen rushed to explain. It was 3 years ago. We were desperate. We knew Robert and Catherine were well off from their restaurant business. Tyler ran into them at a community event, mentioned our situation. They offered to help. $50,000, Tyler added, with a verbal agreement to pay it back within a year. Amanda felt the room spinning. Jason's parents had never mentioned this loan. Not once in all their interactions had they given any indication that they had financially supported her parents. And did you pay it back, she asked, already knowing the answer. We tried, Richard said defensively, but things kept coming up. Tyler's car broke down, then Ellen needed dental work. So not only did you borrow money from my in-laws without telling me, but you also never paid them back. Amanda's voice was dangerously quiet. And rather than face them at my wedding, you simply didn't show up for what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. We were ashamed, Ellen whispered. We kept meaning to tell you, but then time passed, and it seemed better to let sleeping dogs lie. Better for whom Amanda stood up, her napkin falling to the floor. Do you have any idea what it felt like to walk down that aisle alone? To have everyone asking where my parents were? To make excuses for you? Amanda, please. Ellen reached for her hand, but Amanda stepped back. And now you want me to give Tyler $75,000? After everything, Amanda laughed, the sound hollow. This is unbelievable. It's not just for Tyler, Richard argued. The house is in foreclosure again. We need help, Amanda. You're our only hope. The phrase, our only hope, echoed in Amanda's mind. After years of being the afterthought, the reliable one who didn't need attention because she was doing fine, she was suddenly essential. Not for who she was, but for what she could provide. I need to go, Amanda said, grabbing her purse. I can't be here right now. Amanda, wait, Ellen called after her. You don't understand. We did it for you too. Amanda paused at the door. How exactly was borrowing money from my in-laws, never repaying it, skipping my wedding, and then ignoring me for 3 years? For me, Ellen glanced at Richard, who nodded slightly. The money. It wasn't all for Tyler's legal troubles. Some of it was for your wedding gift. What Amanda felt like she had stepped into an alternate reality. We knew we couldn't afford a nice gift, Ellen explained quickly, not like what the other guests would bring. We were going to use part of the loan to buy you that kitchen set you had on your registry, the expensive one with all the attachments. We thought it would make up for everything else. The absurdity of it, borrowing money to buy a gift from the very people who had lent the money, left Amanda speechless. This twisted logic perfectly encapsulated her parents' approach to problems: appearances over substance, short-term solutions over long-term consequences, and always Tyler's needs at the center. "I'm leaving," Amanda said firmly. "Don't call me again unless you're ready to tell me the whole truth, not just the parts you think will get you what you want." As she walked to her car, Tyler jogged after her. "Amanda, wait." She turned, expecting another plea for money. Instead, he looked uncharacteristically serious. "There's more to the story," he said quietly. "Something they're still not telling you. It's about why they've always treated us differently." Amanda hesitated, her hand on the car door. "What are you talking about?" Tyler glanced back at the house where their parents watched from the window. "Not now. They're watching. Meet me tomorrow at Riverside Park, near the old playground. Noon." Before she could respond, he turned and walked back to the house, transforming from the serious man of a moment ago back into the carefree son their parents adored. Driving home, Amanda's mind raced with questions. What other secrets were her family keeping? And more importantly, would knowing them help her heal or simply open old wounds further? Amanda arrived at Riverside Park 20 minutes early, parking her Tesla at the far end of the lot. The familiar playground came into view as she walked along the winding path, the same metal slides and swings where she and Tyler had played as children. On summer days like this, their mother would bring a picnic basket, spreading a checkered blanket under the giant oak tree, while their father pushed them on the swings. Those memories felt like they belonged to different people now, characters in a story she'd read long ago. She chose a bench overlooking the river, watching families enjoy the sunny afternoon. Children laughed as they chased each other across the grass. Parents called out warnings about getting too close to the water. Teenagers huddled over phones, sharing secrets. Normal family interactions that Amanda had once taken for granted. At precisely noon, Tyler appeared walking briskly along the path. He'd changed from yesterday's polo shirt and khakis into jeans and a faded t-shirt, looking more like the brother she remembered from childhood. He sat beside her without greeting, his eyes scanning the playground, as if ensuring they weren't observed. "You came," he said, finally, sounding slightly surprised. "You said there was more to the story," Amanda replied. "I'm listening." Tyler nodded, fidgeting with the frayed edge of his shirt. "I don't know how to say this, so I'll just say it. Dad isn't your biological father." The words hung between them, incomprehensible at first. Amanda stared at her brother, half-brother, waiting for the punchline to a cruel joke. When none came, she felt a strange numbness spread through her body. "That's not possible," she said finally. "I look just like Dad's sister, Aunt Meredith. Everyone's always said so. Strong family resemblance through Mom's genes," Tyler explained. "But biologically, you're not a Wilson. Not fully anyway." "How long have you known this?" Amanda demanded, her voice barely audible over the pounding of her heart. "Since I was 16, Tyler admitted. "I overheard them arguing about it. Mom wanted to tell you when you turned 18, but Dad refused. He was afraid it would change how you felt about him. So, who?" Amanda couldn't finish the question. Tyler shrugged. "Someone Mom knew before Dad. They never said his name around me. I don't think they stay in contact." Amanda's mind raced through implications, connecting dots that had never quite aligned. Her father's emotional distance, the subtle preferential treatment of Tyler, the odd comments from relatives about how she didn't quite fit the Wilson mold, not physically, but temperamentally. "Why tell me now?" she asked. After all these years, Tyler looked away, focusing on a family playing frisbee. "Partly guilt. I've watched how they treat you, how they've always treated you, and it's not right. But also," He hesitated. Also, what Amanda pressed. Also, because I found something, Tyler continued. Last month, when I was looking for some insurance papers in Dad's study, there was a folder with your name on it, hidden behind the tax returns. Inside was a letter from someone named Daniel Harrington, dated just before you were born. Daniel Harrington. Amanda repeated the name, foreign, yet somehow significant. Did you read it? Tyler nodded. It was short. He was saying goodbye, basically. That he respected Mom's decision to stay with Dad and raise you as a Wilson, but that he'd set up a trust fund for you. Something you could access when you turned 35. A trust fund. Amanda felt dizzy with revelations. For me, that's why I needed to tell you, Tyler explained. You're 32 now. In 3 years, you're entitled to that money, if it still exists. But Mom and Dad never planned to tell you about it. They've been terrified for years that you'd somehow discover the truth. So that's why they stayed away from my wedding, Amanda realized aloud. Not just because of the loan from Jason's parents, but because they were afraid someone might mention something, make some comment that would reveal the truth. Exactly, Tyler confirmed, and now they're desperate. The house really is in foreclosure. Dad's retirement fund is gone. Most of it went to my legal expenses, I admit that. They need money and they know about your promotion, your Tesla, but not about the trust fund Amanda finished for him. They don't know that you know or that you've told me. Tyler shook his head. No, and they'd be furious if they found out. Dad especially. This secret, it's the foundation everything else is built on. The family narrative. Amanda sat in silence, absorbing the magnitude of the deception. Her entire identity had been constructed on partial truths. Every memory, every family interaction took on new meaning in light of this revelation. There's one more thing, Tyler said hesitantly. Daniel Harrington, I looked him up. He's not just some guy Mom knew. He's the founder of Harrington Biotech, the pharmaceutical company. Amanda's breath caught. Harrington Biotech was a household name, a Fortune 500 company worth billions. If this man was her biological father, and if he had indeed set up a trust fund for her. Why are you telling me all this? She asked Tyler, suddenly suspicious. What do you get out of it? Tyler looked genuinely hurt by the question. Maybe I'm trying to do the right thing for once. Maybe I'm tired of watching our parents manipulate both of us, me with their excessive attention, you with their neglect. Or maybe his voice softened. I just want my sister back in my life, even if we're only half-siblings. Amanda studied him, trying to discern sincerity from manipulation. Tyler had always been charming, capable of telling people exactly what they wanted to hear. But there was something different in his expression now. A vulnerability she hadn't seen since they were children. What should I do with this information? She asked more to herself than to him. That's up to you, Tyler replied. But if I were you, I'd find out if that trust fund still exists. And I'd want to know who Daniel Harrington really is. Not just as some billionaire, but as the man who shares your DNA. Amanda nodded slowly. I need time to process this. To decide what to do next. I understand, Tyler stood up. But don't take too long. Mom and Dad are running out of options. They might do something desperate. As he walked away, Amanda called after him. Why didn't you ever use this information? You could have blackmailed them, threatened to tell me if they didn't keep supporting you. Tyler paused, looking back with a sad smile. Because despite everything, they're still our parents. And because I knew that once you learned the truth, nothing would ever be the same for any of us. Amanda remained on the bench long after Tyler had disappeared, watching families enjoy their ordinary Sunday. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jason, checking if she was okay. She hadn't told him about meeting Tyler, unsure what she would discover. Now with this new knowledge, she faced an impossible decision. Should she confront her parents, search for her biological father, pretend she never learned the truth? Each path would irrevocably alter her family's future. What was left of it? As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the playground, Amanda made her choice. She would find Daniel Harrington, not for his money, but for the truth he represented. The complete truth that had been denied her for 32 years. Standing up, she took one last look at the playground where she had once been simply Amanda Wilson, daughter of Richard and Ellen's sister to Tyler. That identity no longer fit like a childhood costume outgrown, but kept for sentimental reasons. It was time to discover who she really was. What Amanda didn't realize as she walked back to her car was that this decision would set in motion events that would bring both justice and reconciliation, though not in the way anyone could have predicted. The family secrets, once fully revealed, would change everything, not just for Amanda, but for everyone involved. Watching those families today made me realize how complicated our relationships can be beneath the surface. I know many of you watching have experienced family betrayals or discoveries that changed everything you thought you knew. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of storytellers and listeners. I'd love to know if you've ever discovered a family secret that changed your perspective on everything. Share your experience in the comments if you feel comfortable. Stay tuned to see what Amanda discovers about her biological father. Monday morning found Amanda in her office earlier than usual. The door closed, her computer screen displaying search results for Daniel Harrington Biotech. The company website showed a distinguished man in his 60s with silver hair and familiar hazel eyes. Her eyes. The biography listed his accomplishments: PhD from MIT, pioneering research in immunotherapy, philanthropic foundations, focused on medical access for underprivileged communities. What it didn't mention was a relationship with Ellen Wilson 33 years ago, or a daughter he had never met. Amanda's assistant knocked lightly before entering with coffee. Your 930 canceled. Do you want me to reschedule or leave the time open? Leave it open, Amanda replied quickly, minimizing the browser window. And could you clear my afternoon as well? Personal matter. Once alone again, Amanda opened her email and composed a carefully worded message to Harrington Biotech's corporate office, requesting an appointment with Daniel Harrington regarding a private matter of significant personal importance. She hesitated before typing her name, then deliberately used Amanda Wilson rather than revealing any connection prematurely. Her phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. "Did you tell them?" "Not yet," she replied. "Need to confirm some things first." "Be careful," came his response. "Dad found out I met you yesterday. He's furious." Amanda set her phone aside, focusing on the task at hand. Through the company directory, she located the name of Daniel Harrington's executive assistant and sent a follow-up email directly to her, emphasizing the urgency and personal nature of her request. By lunchtime, she had a response. "Mr. Harrington has a 30-minute opening tomorrow at 4 p.m. Please provide details regarding the nature of your meeting." Amanda's fingers hovered over the keyboard. How could she possibly explain in an email? Finally, she wrote, "Please inform Mr. Harrington that I am Ellen Wilson's daughter. He will understand the significance." The reply came almost immediately. "Mr. Harrington has cleared his schedule for tomorrow afternoon. He will meet you at 2 p.m. Please bring identification." Amanda leaned back in her chair, heart racing. After 32 years of not knowing her biological father, she would meet him tomorrow. The reality of it seemed surreal. That evening, Amanda finally told Jason everything. Her dinner with her parents, Tyler's revelation, the scheduled meeting with Daniel Harrington. Jason listened without interruption, his face reflecting shock, then understanding, then concern. "Why didn't your in-laws ever mention the loan?" Amanda asked the question that had been bothering her since dinner. Jason sighed. "They would have considered it embarrassing for your parents. My mother especially believes in handling financial matters discreetly." "But they watched me walk down the aisle alone," Amanda said softly. "They knew why my parents weren't there, and they never said anything." They probably thought they were protecting you, Jason suggested, or maybe they felt it wasn't their place to come between you and your parents. Amanda nodded, understanding the complicated dynamics at play. What should I do about tomorrow? About meeting him? Jason took her hand. What do you want from this meeting? Before you walk into his office, you need to be clear about your expectations. The truth, Amanda said without hesitation. I don't care about the money or the trust fund. I just want to know who I am, where I come from, why he never tried to be part of my life. Then that's what you should tell him, Jason advised, but be prepared for answers you might not like. That night, Amanda slept fitfully, dreaming of family photos where her face kept changing, never quite matching the others in the frame. The Harrington Biotech headquarters occupied a gleaming tower in downtown Seattle, its glass exterior reflecting clouds and sky. Amanda sat in the elegant reception area, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Despite her position as a CTO, she felt oddly diminished here. Not a powerful executive, but a nervous daughter about to meet her biological father for the first time. Miss Wilson, a polished assistant, appeared. Mr. Harrington will see you now. Amanda followed her through a series of hallways to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Puget Sound. Daniel Harrington stood as she entered, a tall man with the same hazel eyes she saw in her mirror every morning. He looked older than his website photos, the lines around his eyes deeper, his silver hair thinner. Amanda, he said, her name sounding strange in his unfamiliar voice. Please sit down. She took the offered chair, studying the man who had contributed half her DNA. His desk was meticulously organized, family photos arranged precisely, a woman who must be his wife, 2 young men in graduation gowns. Brothers she had never met. I've imagined this meeting for 32 years, he said, breaking the silence, though I never thought it would actually happen. You knew about me? Amanda asked the question that had burned in her mind since yesterday. Daniel nodded. From the beginning. Ellen told me she was pregnant before she decided to stay with Richard. I respected her choice, though I didn't agree with it. Respected it enough to disappear completely. Amanda couldn't keep the bitterness from her voice. That was the agreement, he explained. Richard would raise you as his own, give you his name. I would stay away completely. No visits, no contact, no confusion for you. The only condition I insisted on was the trust fund. I wanted to ensure your future was secure, even if I couldn't be part of it. The trust that no one ever told me about, Amanda noted. Daniel's eyebrows rose. They never told you, not even when you turned 25. 25, Amanda repeated. Tyler said it was accessible at 35. Daniel shook his head, a flash of anger crossing his features. No, the terms were clear. You were to be informed on your 25th birthday. There was a letter explaining everything, documentation of the fund. I had my attorneys send it to your parents' address. I never received anything, Amanda said, pieces falling into place. They intercepted it. Apparently so, Daniel sighed heavily. I should have anticipated that possibility. When I never heard from you, I assumed you wanted nothing to do with me. Amanda tried to process this new betrayal. Not only had her parents hidden her biological father from her, they had actively prevented her from receiving what was rightfully hers, both the money and, more importantly, the truth about her origins. The trust fund, she said, carefully. Does it still exist? Daniel smiled slightly. Yes, it does. It was established as an irrevocable trust with very specific terms. Neither your parents nor I could touch it. It's been managed by my financial team and has grown considerably over the years. How considerably? Amanda asked, curiosity overcoming discretion. The initial investment was $5 million, Daniel said matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather. With compounded interest and some strategic investments, it's currently valued at approximately $22 million. Amanda felt the room spin slightly. $22 million. More money than she could have earned in several lifetimes, even with her substantial salary. I don't want the money, she said automatically. That's not why I'm here. Then, why are you here? Amanda Daniel asked gently. The question brought tears to her eyes unexpectedly. To understand, to know why my parents, the people who raised me, always treated me differently. Why they could miss my wedding, ignore me for years, and then only reach out when they needed something. I thought finding you might explain that. Daniel's expression softened with compassion. I can't speak to Richard and Ellen's choices over the years, but I can tell you that your mother loved you deeply before you were born. She was torn between two paths, staying with Richard, whom she had married young and who had stood by her during difficult times, or starting over with me, a relationship that was still new and uncertain. But why keep it a secret from me? Why let me believe Richard was my biological father? That was Richard's condition for raising you as his own, Daniel explained. Ellen and I had an affair. It was brief but intense. When she discovered she was pregnant, Richard was devastated but ultimately wanted to preserve their marriage. His stipulation was that no one, including you, would ever know I was your biological father. And you agreed to that? Amanda asked incredulously. I was younger then, focused on building my company. The responsibility of a child terrified me, Daniel admitted. It seemed like the best solution for everyone, especially you. You would have a stable home with two parents who wanted you. Except one of those parents couldn't look at me without seeing his wife's infidelity, Amanda realized aloud, and the other was consumed by guilt. Perhaps Daniel acknowledged sadly, though I had hoped they would grow to see you, for the remarkable person you are not the circumstances of your birth. Amanda sat in silence, absorbing this new understanding of her childhood. The subtle distance her father, Richard, had always maintained. The overcompensation with Tyler, his biological child, her mother's complicated mixture of protection and guilt. The trust fund, she said finally. Was that your way of assuaging your guilt? Daniel shook his head. It was my way of being a father in the only way I was permitted. I couldn't teach you to ride a bike or attend your school plays, but I could ensure you had opportunities, choices, freedom. Freedom I never knew I had, Amanda pointed out. A mistake I deeply regret, Daniel said sincerely. After sending the documentation on your 25th birthday and hearing nothing, I should have investigated further rather than assuming you wanted no contact. Amanda studied him, this stranger who was her father. There was kindness in his face, genuine regret in his voice. Whatever his failings had been decades ago, he seemed to truly care about her now. Tell me about yourself, he requested. Your life, your work. If you're comfortable sharing. To her surprise, Amanda found herself wanting to talk. She told him about her education, her career path, meeting Jason, their wedding. Daniel listened attentively, asking thoughtful questions, his pride evident, though he had no right to claim it. You've accomplished so much on your own, he said when she finished. I'm not surprised, given your intelligence and determination. Those are qualities I recognized in your mother when we met. The mention of her mother brought Amanda back to the present situation. My parents, Richard and Ellen, they're in serious financial trouble. That's why they reached out after seeing my Tesla on Facebook. They need money. Daniel's expression hardened slightly. And after everything, keeping you from knowing me, intercepting the trust documentation, missing your wedding, they expect you to bail them out. They don't know that I know the truth, Amanda explained. About you, about the trust. They think I'm still in the dark. What will you do? Daniel asked, curious rather than judgmental. Amanda had been asking herself the same question since learning about her biological father. Now sitting across from him, seeing her own eyes mirrored in his face, the answer crystallized with surprising clarity. I think, she said slowly, it's time for the whole truth to come out. For everyone, Daniel nodded. I agree, and I'd like to be part of your life going forward if you'll allow it. Not to replace the parents who raised you, however, imperfectly, but to know my daughter. To make up for lost time if that's possible. I'd like that Amanda realized she meant it. But first, I need to confront my parents with what I know. All of it. Would you like me to be there? Daniel offered. After all, I'm part of this story too. Amanda considered the offer. Having Daniel present would certainly add weight to the confrontation, force her parents to acknowledge their decades of deception. But it would also be intensely painful for everyone involved, particularly her mother. No, she decided, this first conversation needs to be between them and me. There will be time for all of us to talk later if they're willing. Daniel accepted her decision with a nod. Whatever you decide to do about the trust fund, about your relationship with them, or with me, I'll support you. It's your life, Amanda, your choice. As their meeting concluded, Daniel walked her to the elevator. There's something else you should know, he said as the doors opened. You have 2 half-brothers who don't know about you yet. When you're ready, I'd like to tell them. They're good men. I think you'd like them. Amanda stepped into the elevator, emotions swirling. Brothers. A biological father. Millions of dollars that had been hers for 7 years without her knowledge. And parents whose web of deception had finally unraveled. I'll call you, she promised, as the doors began to close. After I talk to my parents. Daniel smiled, a smile she recognized from her own reflection. I'll be waiting. As the elevator descended, Amanda formulated her plan. This wasn't about revenge for years of emotional neglect or the shock of discovering her true parentage. It was about justice, for the little girl who had always felt like she wasn't quite enough, for the bride who walked alone down the aisle, for the woman who had built her life on a foundation of partial truths. It was time for the Wilson family's secrets to end whatever the consequences might be. The familiar colonial house looked different now that Amanda knew the whole truth. Smaller, somehow its secrets exposed, its power over her diminished. She parked her Tesla in the driveway, this time no longer concerned about the neighbors' curious glances. Let them look. Let them wonder. Secrets had corrupted her family long enough. She had called ahead asking both parents to be present, saying she had made a decision about helping the family. Ellen had sounded relieved, Richard cautiously optimistic. Neither suspected what was really coming. They waited in the living room, Ellen perched anxiously on the edge of the sofa, Richard standing by the fireplace. Tyler was notably absent. Amanda had texted him separately, asking him to stay away. This conversation needed to be between her and her parents first. Amanda Ellen rose as she entered, embracing her with fragile hope. "Thank you for coming." "Let's sit down," Amanda suggested, maintaining a calm she didn't entirely feel. "We have a lot to discuss." Richard took his usual armchair. Ellen returned to the sofa, and Amanda chose the hardback chair opposite them both, a physical manifestation of the divide between them. "Before we talk about any financial assistance," Amanda began carefully, "there's something I need to address. Something that's been hidden from me for 32 years. Ellen's face paled instantly while Richard's jaw tightened. Telltale signs that confirmed what Amanda already knew. They understood exactly what she was referencing. "I know that Richard is not my biological father," she continued into the heavy silence. "I know about Daniel Harrington, and I know about the trust fund that should have been disclosed to me 7 years ago." Ellen's hand flew to her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. Richard seemed to age a decade in seconds, slumping in his chair, the fight visibly draining from him. "How?" Ellen whispered. "Who told you? Does it matter?" Amanda asked. "What matters is that you've lied to me my entire life, about who I am, about what was rightfully mine." "We were trying to protect you," Ellen insisted weakly. "Protect me?" Amanda echoed. Or protect yourselves, your comfortable narrative, the fiction that we were a normal, happy family. You have no idea how complicated it was. Richard spoke, finally, his voice hoarse. Ellen was pregnant when I discovered the affair. I loved her. I agreed to raise you as my own on the condition that no one, not you, not anyone, would ever know the truth. And that justified treating me differently from Tyler my entire life, Amanda challenged. That made it okay to miss my wedding, to ignore me for 3 years. The wedding, Ellen began fresh, tears falling. We couldn't face Jason's parents after borrowing that money, and we were afraid. Afraid someone might notice how little I resemble Dad, Amanda finished for her. Afraid the truth might finally come out, neither denied it. Their silence was confirmation enough. I met with Daniel Harrington yesterday. Amanda continued, watching their expressions shift from shame to shock. He told me everything. The affair, the agreement you all made before I was born, the trust fund he established for me. You had no right. Richard began angrily, but Amanda cut him off. I had every right. It's my life, my identity, my truth. You're the ones who had no right to hide it from me, especially after I turned 25. Ellen looked confused. 25. The trust was to be revealed to me on my 25th birthday, Amanda explained. Daniel had his attorneys send documentation to this address, documentation you intercepted and hid from me. Ellen turned to Richard, genuine surprise in her expression. Richard? Is that true? Richard couldn't meet his wife's gaze. I thought it was for the best. If you knew about the money, you might leave. Choose him after all. So you kept it from both of us. Ellen realized aloud, the betrayal fresh even after all these years. Amanda watched this exchange with growing understanding. Her mother hadn't been part of this particular deception. Richard had acted alone, hiding the trust documentation, not just from Amanda, but from Ellen as well. How much? Ellen asked quietly. The trust fund. How much is it? $22 million? Amanda answered the number, still surreal to her. Ellen gasped. Richard closed his eyes, the magnitude of what he had kept from his family finally sinking in. All these years, Ellen whispered. All the financial struggles, the second mortgages, borrowing from Jason's parents. When you knew that Amanda had access to millions, it wasn't our money, Richard defended weakly. It was hers. Money you made sure I never knew about, Amanda pointed out. Money that could have changed all our lives. A heavy silence filled the room as each person processed the implications of these revelations. Finally, Amanda spoke again, her voice softer but resolute. I didn't come here for a confrontation, though you deserve one. I came to tell you that despite everything, all the lies, the emotional neglect, the betrayals, I've made a decision about the family's financial situation. Ellen and Richard exchanged an uncertain glance. I'm going to pay off this house, Amanda stated. Not with my money, but with a portion of the trust fund that's been waiting for me all these years. You won't lose your home. Relief flooded their faces, quickly replaced by confusion. Why would you help us? Richard asked. After everything, not for you, Amanda clarified. For me, to close this chapter of my life without bitterness or regret. To know that, despite how you treated me, I chose to be better. She turned to her mother. I'm also setting up a separate account for Mom's future security, so she never has to feel trapped by financial circumstances again. Ellen began to cry silently, understanding the gift of freedom her daughter was offering. As for Tyler's business venture, Amanda continued, that's a separate discussion I'll have with him directly. But I want to be clear, this is the end of the deception. No more secrets, no more lies. If we're to have any relationship moving forward, it has to be based on truth. Richard nodded slowly, defeat and a glimmer of relief mingling in his expression. The weight of decades of deception was lifting, however painfully. There's one more thing, Amanda said. Daniel Harrington would like to meet you both. to have an honest conversation about the past and possibly the future. I told him I would ask, but the decision is yours." Ellen looked up surprised. "He wants to meet us, after all this time, not for recrimination," Amanda assured her. "For closure, for my sake, if nothing else." Richard's jaw tightened again, the prospect clearly uncomfortable for him. But after a moment he nodded. "If that's what you want, Amanda. We owe you that much." As Amanda prepared to leave, Ellen walked her to the door. "I never stopped loving you," she said quietly. "Even when we were apart, even when we made terrible mistakes, you were always my daughter." Amanda looked at the woman who had given her life, raised her, and deceived her. The anger wasn't gone, but it had transformed into something more complex, a bittersweet understanding of human frailty and the complicated nature of family bonds. "I know, Mom," she said simply. "That's why this hurts so much." Driving away from her childhood home, Amanda felt a curious lightness. The truth had not magically healed all wounds or erased the pain of the past, but it had created space for something new to grow, relationships based on honesty choices made with full knowledge, a future unencumbered by secrets. She pulled over to text Jason, "It's done, coming home." Then she sent another message, this one to Daniel Harrington. They agreed to meet, and "I'd like to meet my brothers soon." The final text went to Tyler, "House is safe. We need to talk about your business idea." For real this time. As she put her phone away, Amanda looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror. The same hazel eyes that had always stared back at her now filled with new understanding. She was still Amanda Wilson, the name on her birth certificate, the identity she had built through 3 decades of life, but she was also Amanda Harrington in some fundamental biological sense. Both truths could coexist. Both stories were hers to claim. The justice she had sought wasn't about punishment or revenge. It was about truth, painful, complicated, liberating truth. The kind that breaks things apart, but makes room for something stronger to be built in its place. She started the Tesla and headed home to Jason, to the life they had created together, to the future that now held possibilities she had never imagined. Behind her, the house where she grew up grew smaller in the distance, no longer the repository of secrets that had defined her family for too long. Ahead lay uncertainty, reconciliation, new relationships, and 22 million reasons to believe that sometimes justice comes in unexpected forms. What an incredible journey it's been sharing this story with you all. I'd love to know if you've ever experienced a moment when truth brought its own form of justice to your life. Has family karma ever circled back in your experience? Please drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched you in any way, hit that like button and subscribe to hear more tales of family secrets and redemption. Share with someone who might need to hear that sometimes facing the truth, however painful, can be the first step toward healing. Thank you for being here with me through this emotional journey. May we all find the courage to embrace our truths and create the families we deserve. Until next time,